Welcome to Facts in 5, Crediting Combination Foods, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Education Child and Adult Care Food Program. I'm Katie Part, registered dietitian and a member of the CACFP team. As I answer some of the most common questions we receive about combination foods today, we'll address what exactly a child nutrition label is. Does the food you serve need that CN label, and what if you don't have one? Taking a quick look at the CN label, we know that it can tell us information that we cannot determine on our own. It would be impossible for us to know how much meat, grain, or bread and vegetable one slice of frozen pizza from the grocery store provides, and that's the purpose of the CN label. It gives us that information to ensure that we're providing the minimum required quantity for each child depending on his or her age group, and ensuring that we're preparing the adequate portion or amount to give everyone their minimum required serving. You can see this example states that a 5-ounce serving of pizza provides 2 ounces of meat alternate, a 1/8 cup serving of vegetable, and 1.5 servings from the grains group. CN labels also always have that very simple CN border, as well as a 6-digit code in the upper right-hand corner. The code is assigned by the USDA's Food Nutrition Service and is an indicator of when that CN label was most recently approved. Foods that need a CN label are going to be any type of combination food that you did not make from scratch. Making combination foods from scratch means you know exactly how much meat, grain, vegetable, etc. was put into making the final product. Therefore, it's pretty easy to document how much of each of those components one serving will provide a participant. Some common examples of foods that require a CN label are any type of meat item like a chicken nugget or a fish stick, lasagnas, casseroles, and pizzas that are pre-made and all you do is heat them and then serve them, as well as some types of hot dogs and all types of corn dogs. Some of the not so obvious foods might be Salisbury steak, an egg and cheese breakfast round, and even pre-made hamburger patties and taco filling that's made with beef and textured vegetable protein. The list you see here are not comprehensive. They're just a few examples of the foods that would definitely require a child nutrition label. When it comes to determining whether foods need a child nutrition label and you've got something that you're not certain of, a Salisbury steak, for example, looks like it could be all beef, you need to read the ingredient list because that's going to give you some really important information. As you can see here, the first ingredient is beef, so there definitely is some credibility to this food. It can credit as a meat or meat alternate item, but you see the third ingredient is breadcrumbs. Further on down the list, we see some non-meat items like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, diced onion, peppers as well. So this item is not exclusively meat. We cannot credit this ounce for ounce as meat. 1 ounce serving of this Salisbury steak wouldn't credit as a 1 ounce serving of meat. But how much does count? Well, we don't really know because it's not an all meat product. Therefore, we must get the child nutrition label for this food in order to know how much each participant needs to receive in order to have the minimum required serving based on his or her age. And then that also gives us the information that you need in order to prepare the required quantity so that everyone has access to the minimum required serving based on age. What if a food you serve doesn't have a CN label? First and foremost, we encourage you to not serve it. It's probably not a healthy choice. It likely has lots of calories as well as fat and sodium. We really want you to try to move towards more homemade items where you know exactly what goes into those. That way you have more control over the calories, the fat, and the sodium, as well as the cost. Those processed foods are often higher in cost than something that is equally simple, requires a few more steps possibly, but is homemade. If there is a food your participants particularly enjoy that you'd like to keep serving, we're fine with you doing that. We encourage you to serve it a little bit more sparingly, but you do need to make sure that if it does not have a CN label, that you acquire a product formulation statement from the manufacturer. That formulation statement is going to give you information very similar to the CN label. It's going to tell you how much of each component group represented in that food is in one serving of that food. So make sure if you don't have the CN label that you get a product formulation statement. In summary, we encourage you to read ingredient lists for those not so obvious foods that might have more than one component in the ingredient list, because that means they're going to have a child nutrition label or a product formulation statement. We also encourage you to explore healthier options that will result in fewer calories, less fat, and less sodium, which is important for participants who are children and adults alike. And then finally, make sure you have the required documentation that you need in order to avoid disallowances. It is NDE's policy to disallow meals where combination foods without supporting documentation, like the CN label or the product formulation statement, are not provided. We hope this answers some of the questions you have about crediting combination foods. If you have any other questions or need clarification on a specific food you're serving, don't hesitate to reach out to a member of our team. We're always here to help. Thank you.